You know what I'm going to start keeping track of that just hit me? Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State went. Now, this is not just a knock against the West. This is everybody in the Big Ten. They went 24-0 against the Big Ten last year. Those three against the rest of the teams. I'm going to start to continue to see how long this winning streak is going to go. I'm going to count it into the previous year. It might be 28, 29, whatever. Penn State wasn't that good the previous year, so they did lose games to other teams, although Ohio State and Michigan did not. And then, of course, they are all undefeated in the Big Ten thus far this year. So it's like a 30-game winning streak that those three teams have against the rest of the conference.
Yes, but that's also somewhat of an indictment on the rest of the East as well.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, but some people are going to hear that and they're going to say, "Well, the West sucks, the East is great." Well, the top three of the East is really good. I think Maryland's pretty good. I don't think you think Rutgers is very good. I mean,
I think they're pretty good. I think they're functional. I think they are better than they've been.
Okay.
You know,
well, they're not as good as they're not as good. Yeah, well, but I mean, I watched that game. They're not. Wisconsin's clearly the better team. I don't care if you're on a neutral field or not. I think Iowa's going to beat Rutgers at home. And
they played that game at a neutral field?
No, I'm saying no.
Oh, I got you.
I'm saying if they were on a neutral field, I don't think it would have made much of a difference.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rutgers isn't any good. Indiana's terrible. Who else am I missing? Who else am I missing out east?
The three are the best though, by far, and then Maryland might be fourth. They might be.
Maybe. I wish that you know what I wish, Mark. I wish that either Wisconsin or Iowa had Maryland on the schedule.
Yeah,
neither of those teams play Maryland, and that's unfortunate.
I'd like to see them both play Maryland. I would just think it would be a really good game.
Now, if Illinois goes out to College Park and wins this week, we might have to reassess everything.
I don't have a ton of faith in Maryland as being some great team or anything, but I would be pretty surprised if that happened.
Yeah, you just said Illinois might be the worst team in the Big Ten.
I think they are.
Well, then if they go on the road and beat the potentially the fourth best team in the Big Ten, that's a massive upset.
Corey, they haven't played a good game this year. They have two wins. They beat Toledo on the last play of the game. They beat FAU by 6 at home.
Well, I don't know what Toledo's. That's a decent win. What's Toledo doing?
Toledo's 5-1.
Okay, that's a good win.
MAC team.
But I don't care. What does that matter? That's a good win.
You're a Big Ten team. You don't mess around.
Isn't Toledo in the top
of the game?
Okay, 5-1. I bet they're receiving top 25 votes.
They are. That still doesn't tell me anything. You understand, Corey? You of all people shouldn't be backing the AP rankings.
No, I'm just saying, like, they were a preseason darling in the MAC, and the MAC is typically a strong conference relative to the G5. And I'm not saying it's a great win. I'm just saying it's a decent win. It's not like Iowa beating Miami, Ohio in typical year. Well, Miami, that's a bad example. It's not like Iowa beating UMass.
I would consider it to be a decent win if they would have won by 3 touchdowns. Then I'd say, oh, that's a good win. That's a solid win. They beat a good MAC team, and they beat them the way a Big Ten team should beat a MAC team.
By the way, that was not a slight on Penn State. I totally forgot they play UMass this week.
Well, they should win by 50 points. Ohio State put 77 on Toledo last year, and they won the MAC.
Well, let's just call a spade, Mark. You and I have not had conversations about the Big Ten, specifically the top 3 of the Big Ten, since last week. As of right now, what it appears on paper, it appears that the 2 best teams in the Big Ten are clearly Penn State and Michigan. Now, with that being said, do I think it's going to pan out that way? Not necessarily. But can we agree on that based on what we've seen, what we've surmised on the field?
No.
Really?
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I agree. I'm going to have my power rankings come out here in the next day, and you may see that, but I've already made them, so nothing that we say is going to impact. They're already written out. But I don't think clearly. No, I'm not going to say Ohio State's clearly the 3rd best team in the Big Ten. Not when they went out and beat Not when they went out and beat Maryland by 3 touchdowns. They've got the best win in the conference thus far, in a sense.
Yeah.
But I'm also not saying you're wrong.
I'm just saying, like, Ohio State has not been dominant to the extent that Penn State and Michigan have been dominant.
But they've played better teams.
Y'all got some smart people in this chat, by the way. Beetle, PSU is trash.
Well, we tend to attract the upper crust. Yeah.
So anyways, but yeah, that's about all I got. By the way, Bradley in the chat, didn't Penn State beat Northwestern by like 4 touchdowns? So yes. I'm not going to rewatch the Northwestern game, buddy boy.
Well, before we let you go, Cory, because there were some interesting points that Erica called right before you. She said that the Iowa pass rush was devastating against Purdue.
No comment.
Okay.
I don't agree. I really love Erica. She's great. She's great for the channel. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
In any way, they were not devastating against Purdue. I'll tell you what was devastating was the coverage sacks and the coverage pressure that Iowa put on Card, and it was better. Don't get me wrong. The pass rush was better, okay. But I mean, he had a lot of time back there, and Iowa did get 6 sacks, but it's because he held the ball a long, long time because there wasn't anything down the field.
Well, not that I didn't enjoy our conversation last night, but I also used it as analysis, and I duly credited you because I did not see the game with your evaluation on Deacon Hill, the running game, and a few other things.
Well, we're going to have a good conversation tomorrow about all this, and this game. I mean, let's just. I know it's almost depressing saying this because I feel like the season just started. But it's October 9th. It's a week of October 9th, and this game, for people who actually care about the Big Ten and care about the West, which is, people are going to say that nobody cares, but there's a lot of fans in this division that care.
Sure.
This game is probably going to determine who plays in Indy.
I was saying the same thing.
And I made the comment before the game on Saturday, before Iowa even took the field against Purdue. When I saw Wisconsin up big on Rutgers, I tweeted it out. I said, this game on Saturday, not Iowa-Purdue, but Iowa-Wisconsin, is a must-win for Iowa. And it's not an elimination game for Wisconsin, although I think if Iowa wins, they're the clear favorite. I think it's an elimination game for Iowa because I don't know where the 3 losses are on Wisconsin's schedule from there on out. There would need to be 3 losses. Iowa's already down a loss. Then you lose the second game, and so which means you're basically down 3 games because of the tiebreaker. So you can't lose Saturday. I mean, you can't. Exactly. And Mark, since January, I've been saying that Iowa was a preseason favorite. That kind of hinged upon, 2 things. Cade McNamara staying healthy. I don't really think that makes much of a difference because he wasn't healthy the first 4 weeks. But a big part of that was I did expect Wisconsin. I predicted preseason that Iowa was going to lose to Penn State and Wisconsin, but I also thought Wisconsin might drop a game or 2 early, and at least one to either Rutgers or Purdue. I thought one of those teams would sneak up on them, given the changes at Wisconsin, and I give them credit. The one loss being to Wazoo doesn't hurt you. And so, I don't know. I mean, they're not losing. They're going to lose to Ohio State, likely at home. And, I mean, who else do they have? They have Indiana, I think. They'll get Minnesota. But, man, Minnesota right now looks like garbage.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem. Both Iowa and Wisconsin, there aren't games left. There are not competitive. Iowa might be in some competitive games because of how they play.
Yes.
But there are not games where there is any doubt who's the favorite.
Yep.
So
Totally agree. That I have more confidence in Iowa if I turn the game on and they're winning 16-10 in the fourth quarter against Northwestern, Illinois, fill in the blank from the West versus anybody else. That, okay, this isn't pretty. They should beat them worse than this, but they will win the game.
Yeah.
Did you see the line on this game? Check the screen if you haven't. I
did
surprised.
See. I heard 9.5. Is that?
Yes, 10. It's bumped to 10 in most sports books.
Yeah, that's okay.
I guess like 4.5, and I'm usually like within a half point to a point when I guess these. I did not see that coming.
Iowa fans, not that Iowa fans care about my prediction is, because my prediction doesn't mean anything more than anybody else's. But
well, what is your record this year? I bet it's undefeated.
It's undefeated straight up. I mean, yeah. Sure, but I don't know about the spread. That's a good question. I should go back and check that out. I think I might have Wisconsin covering this week, Mark.
Wow.
Because
well, I told Erica, I said the last time a spread concerning Iowa hit me like this was a couple weeks ago against Penn State, and I didn't even consider it. I just thought, yeah, give me those 15, 16 points. Absolutely.
And, and just part of it is, these are the types of games. I'd go back to Iowa State. Wisconsin's a better team than Iowa State. However, going on the road and playing a rival, tough environment, without an offense that's very good, to me, the X factor could have been having a guy like Cade, just like it was in, I thought, 2015. Iowa's offense didn't play very good against Wisconsin that year in Madison. They were helped by a turnover, or actually a couple of turnovers in that game. But specifically, just composure from C.J. Beathard. He didn't put up great numbers. I don't think he got to 100 yards passing, but I think having that type of a leader. You look at what Spencer Petras did up at Wisconsin in 2021, Mark. Do you remember that game? That game is burned. Yes. That game is etched permanently on the left quartile, front left quartile of my brain. Specifically because I remember I brought this up so many times, but I love talking about it.
Away.
Ridiculous. 4th and long, they're down like 14 points or 17 points. And they're like in Wisconsin territory. They go for it on 4th and long or 4th and medium. And he gets some pressure. What does he do? He chucks it into the 4th row. And what's funny is I've told that story before. One of my sponsors on my channel reached out to me and said, "Hey, I was at that game that you keep talking about." And he's like, the pass came towards us, and he's like, my jaw just dropped. He's like, I had no idea. I don't have any idea what he was doing. It's one of the more baffling things that I've ever seen. And maybe Deacon Hill will come out and play great on Saturday, but until I see that, I have a hard time just saying, well, he's going to go up there and move the ball against an offense when they've had experienced quarterbacks like C.J. Beathard, like Petras, like Nate Stanley, who went up to Madison and they were worse than bad. Mark, go back and look at this. Is what's crazy about this. Go back and look. I'm trying to think. The exception being, was there even an exception? 2015. Can you do this real quick while I'm on the air, Mark?
Sure.
Can you Google C.J. Beathard's stat line, Iowa, Wisconsin, 2015? This might blow your mind. And I haven't even looked this information up. But before I make my prediction this week, I will be going back and looking at these stats. But your mind is gonna be blown by this, I think.
Okay, I do remember this game now that I see the final score: 10-6 Iowa. Okay,
10-6 Iowa wins. C.J. Beathard's stat line.
C.J. Beathard in 2015 against Wisconsin, 9 of 21, 77 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
Okay, then hey, listen. Then go flash forward to 2017. Let me think here.
Joel Stave, by the way, threw for 234, 21 of 38.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, go to 2017. Nate Stanley, 2017. That was the week after. That was the week after Iowa beat Ohio State in Kinnick, Mark. Go to
after
Nate Stanley's stat line in 2017 in Madison.
Ohio State out of the playoff.
Yep. The very next week.
Against Wisconsin in a 38-14 loss in 2017. 8 of 24, 41 yards and a pick. 41 yards. Oh.
And that was Nate Stanley. That was a guy who just torched Ohio State the week prior, torched Iowa State in Ames, had 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns week 2 against Iowa State. I mean, seriously.
Here are the yardage totals, Cory, on the pass completions. 10, 9, 9, 5, 6, 2, 0.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. Let's flash forward. That's 2017. Now flash forward to 2019. Now 2019's probably, if you're looking at these as a group of 4 games, which we're doing right now, 2019 is going to be the best numbers you're going to see because, for one, they had an 80-yard touchdown pass to Tyrone Tracy that nearly sent the game to overtime.
Yes.
One play 75. Late in that game.
Yep. Wisconsin 24-22 in 2019. Nate Stanley 17 of 28, 208, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. So that was the best stat line by far. Keep in mind that he had 120 yards before the 80-yard bomb to Tyrone Tracy. That was part of the game. I'm not taking it away, but in large part, that was a anomaly.
Do you remember what Jonathan Taylor did in that game?
Oh, he just ran over everybody. I think he had what, 220 rushing yards?
250.
250. Yeah, I remember.
1 per carry. Whoo.
Yeah. And trying to think, did you see 2017, what they did in the ground?
No.
It's amazing. As good as Iowa's run defense has traditionally been, Wisconsin's burned them at times, as has Penn State.
Oh, man. Yeah. This was more a collective effort. But, Jonathan Taylor in 2017 ran for 157.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin ran for 247.
Exactly. Yeah, that's just Wisconsin. But I don't know that they're as strong. They got a couple of big backs.
Yeah.
I was impressed watching. What's the backup's name? Is it Aker or something like that?
I haven't seen a play since Ches Malusi got hurt. I did not see any of the game on Saturday.
You go back and watch some of his highlights against Rutgers. The backup, I was impressed by him. He's a big kid. He's not quite as big as Braylon Allen, but the kid can lower the pads.
Before I look him up, which I bet as soon as I look him up, I'm going to know who that is. The rushing differential in that 2017 game was 247 to 25.
That's about what you'd expect, I guess, based on my knowledge of the series. And then don't forget to check on 2021, Mark, because you've checked on a CJ Beathard stat line, you've checked on 2 Nate Stanley stat lines. Let's check on Spencer Petrus stat line at Madison 2021.
Jackson Acker, by the way, Wisconsin backup, 21 carries, 96 yards this season.
Yeah, I believe it's pronounced Aker. I believe, at least that's what they were saying on Peacock.
It's Acker. It looks like Acker, but okay.
Yeah.
Wisconsin wins 27-7 in 2021. Yeah, I remember this game. Let's go. Here we go. Spencer Petrus, 9 of 19, 93 yards.
So let me just recap, Mark. 3 of their last 4 trips to Madison, the Iowa quarterback has failed to hit 100 yards passing. And now you've got a guy in his second career start who went 6 of 21 last week at home to Purdue. He's going to Madison this week, Mark.
Yeah.
For his first road start. All right. Anyways, I know what you're telling me. I've gone into this game with higher hopes in the past. I hope to go into this game with lower hopes this time than ever, but come out surprised. And I will say this is a different Wisconsin team. It's obviously a different system with Luke Fickell. Maybe things will be different. I can tell you this: 2021, that loss I wouldn't say that's the start, but keep in mind that was the week after Iowa lost to Purdue. Remember, Iowa was number 2 in the country.
Yep.
They lose to Purdue at home, and then they go to Madison and get crushed. That was when I remember thinking, man, we are really determined to go up against a brick wall and slam our head into it over and over and over again. Like, that was the game, because I remember going into the game thinking, hey, they got to pull something. They got to have some exotic, something ready at some point in this game. And they went up there and they did what they say they're going to do. We're going to get up to the line of scrimmage and we're going to run the ball when you know we're going to run the ball, but we're going to do it anyways. And we're going to try to beat you at it. And what happened? They got absolutely killed. So I hope that doesn't happen, but I'm not surprised by the line, Mark. I know you are, and I know it's based on what you perceive Iowa's defense to be, but that defense in 2021 was pretty good up there as well. And if they get that rushing game going, it's just kind of like I'm not saying Penn State. Obviously, Wisconsin does not have the offense of Penn State. They don't have the offense of an Ohio State of 2022 or a Michigan of 2021. But you look at those games against good opponents, especially on the road, what happens? Iowa can't do anything offensively, can't run the ball, can't throw the ball, nothing. So they're going to lose a field position battle, and the defense is going to hold, and then eventually the dam's going to break.
Yeah.
So that's what makes me fearful. I in no way do I expect Wisconsin to be up by more than, I could see them up by 10 at halftime. But I mean, if this game goes to script, they'll be up at halftime, even if it's by just 3 or by 7 or by 10. But then something will happen in the second half. And I don't expect Iowa's offense to do anything. I mean, nothing. I mean, I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope they go down there and rush for 200 yards. But that would be the most incredulous thing to ever happen up there, I think. So, anyways.
One thing I picked up yesterday, Cory, I'll let you go after this, is that Sam Laporta is off to an amazing start in the NFL.
Yeah, how about that? I saw somebody in your chat bring up he's the next George Kittle. I think that might be jumping the gun a bit, but I don't know. He's helping the cause. Man, when's the last time we've seen a rookie tight end? Maybe that's happened, but when's the last time we've seen a rookie tight end as productive as he's been through 4 or 5 weeks?
Yeah,
I mean,
25 catches.
Yeah, he's every week. It's impressive. But I mean, Mark, I've always been high on him, and I thought he was maybe a little bit under the radar as it related to draft boards. He still got drafted relatively high. Obviously, Detroit liked him. And, I got a chat of a bunch of buddies of mine here in Iowa, and I got ripped a couple of years ago when I criticized the Rams for that trade. And I give them credit. They went out and won a Super Bowl. But at the time, I said, you know what? I would much rather have all those draft picks and a guy who's been adequate as a game manager in Jared Goff than an aging Matt Stafford who's got maybe a few prime years left. And I don't know. We'll see what Detroit does. I don't have a lot of confidence in that franchise as a whole, but Laporta's an example of the youth that they've been able to get, and they're kind of building around a guy who's still relatively young in Goff, and they look maybe like the cream of the crop in that division.
Yes, just another Iowa tight end prospect getting the job done at the next level.
And I do think, Mark, that Luke Lachey is coming back next year, based on scuttlebutt. I don't, obviously nothing official. I think he's coming back next year. Sounds like Cade's coming back next year. Now Eric All, I'd have to look at his eligibility. I should know that, but I don't even know that he has a year left. Off the top of your head?
I would think that he does. I don't know for sure.
Okay. I could see him. I mean, he's putting up impressive. He was really good Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, 11 targets.
They threw to.
Exactly. You realize
they completed. Yes.
Did you know they didn't have a single reception by a wide receiver?
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah.
Have you ever seen anything like that?
5 receptions by All and a dump off to Caleb Johnson. That's it.
And they won the game. They won the game, Mark.
Yes, they did.
Somebody made the comment that it was 2 days ago. They said, Iowa, it seems like Kirk Ferentz must have like a Moneyball type of guy. Like they figured out the formula to beat all these teams. And I almost feel like that might be some truth to that. Say what you want about the schedule. It is incredible that Iowa can win the way they win, just year after year. I mean, Mark, they're 5-1. They're 5-1. I mean, I predicted they'd be 5-1, but they lost their best tight end. Yep. They lost their quarterback. Brian is still, soiling himself each and every week, and they're still 5-1.
They are, and yes, this I believe is for the West, as you do.
So, well, it'll be a good game. Do you know, is it Gus Johnson, your favorite guy, Gus Johnson, on the call Saturday?
Let's not, I have a level of respect for Gus Johnson, and I've heard he's an exceptional person. I just have issues with him, like not knowing what's going on in the game half the time.
I understand. You're more of the traditionalist.
Well, it hits me a few times during every Gus Johnson broadcast that is he watching the same game that everyone else is? And have mentioned this to you in the past, and it strikes me I tend to watch those games. They're usually Big Ten games and the best game in the Big Ten. So I'm typically watching his broadcast, and I don't mind all the excitement and all the yelling and screaming. Yeah, that's great. It's exciting. People like it. I'm okay with it. It doesn't annoy me. That's not what annoys me. It's when on the fourth play of the game, Ohio State messes up a punt snap, and they screw up a punt snap, and then they try to run it for a first down and they get stopped. And he thinks the punt's like in the air and going downfield, and it's like there's a scrum at the line of scrimmage, and he's like, I don't know what he's thinking, what he's watching.
Did you see, not to change the subject, I saw it on Facebook again this morning, and I'd seen it before. It was like back in, was it 2017 or 2018? That Eastern Michigan game. You probably know what I'm talking about, where I think it was it Jay Feely? Did I see it was Jay Feely that was doing the play-by-play?
Okay.
Or maybe not. Well, maybe I don't know why he'd be the play-by-play guy. Maybe he was the analyst. But anyways, this kicker goes up there for like a 33-yard kick, and he misses it by like 30 yards right. And Feely's like, and he just slips it through off the upright. What a kick. And like he goes to commercial, and he's like, Eastern Michigan responds. It's 3-3. And the scoreboard's on the thing. It says 0-3. Like, did you remember that game?
No, I don't remember that call or that game.
I'll have to send that to you.
I have to send you this. It's a NFL game. I think Vikings-Lions. It's about 10 years ago. And there's this guy that does NFL history stuff. And it's a great channel. But he breaks down what has to be the worst announced game ever. It's unbelievable. You have to watch this video. Like, this guy is calling players, and I'm not saying like he messed up one time, like consistently calling players like that play for the other team, and he's consistently, pointing out players that haven't been on the team for 2 years. And he's like, it's clearly like a 7-yard run on like 1st and 10. And he's going, and Smith runs for the first down. And it's like, he's like 3 yards. And he's just doing this over and over. And like, they even pointed out, like they would pitch him from the studio. And he like read off the games from the day, and they were like the wrong games. He was like, yeah, Chicago goes to Green Bay later today. And it's like, no, they're not even playing. He screwed up everything.
Well, I will remind you, 2021 Iowa Penn State, when Iowa won in Kinnick, and that, what was it, like 2-3 game?
Yeah.
That game, I remember Gus Johnson calling Matt Hawkins like 3 times. And no, I know exactly what you're talking about as it relates to his struggles. Who's the guy that, I think he works for ESPN now? He was Fox. He's kind of like the Gus Johnson wannabe. What is that guy's name? Somebody will know it in the chat. But he knows his stuff, but he kind of gets a little bit over animated as well. So you're more, like I said, you're more of a traditionalist as it relates to it. I love the experience and the rah of Gus Johnson. I appreciate that about him. I get irritated as well, but and by the way, this is nothing about her being a woman. I promise you, because there's a lot of, women announcers that I actually really enjoy listening to, but it's better than Beth Mowins. And I hate to rip on Beth Mowins, but I'm just glad that Iowa doesn't have to. I just hated that 11 a.m. time slot on ESPN or ESPN2, where you get Darrell Johnson Koulianos. You get that kind of stupidity.
You have to throw a little bit more. There's kind of like she's talking out of the side of her mouth.
Yeah, and a 16-yard touchdown pass to Cavante Martin Manley. I just couldn't take it anymore. So, anyways, those were the good old days where you listen to it in a sports bar and you could kind of drown it out. But
yeah, that was her spot though. ESPN2 at noon Eastern.
I like Lisa. Michael in the chat. I like Lisa Byington. I have no issue with Lisa Byington. I know the
name. I can't recall.
She's on Big Ten Network. She knows what she's doing, and she doesn't have that annoying. I mean, in my opinion, annoying.
Yeah, it is.
So, anyways, all right, Mark, I'll let you get to your other callers, but
thank you, Cory.
We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
The one and only Cory Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Join him right there from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Everything Iowa, not just football, but of course it is football season, but basketball, men's and women's, so forth and so on.